Guys, today I'm going to be in Genesis 40. Genesis 40, I'm going to read verses 6 through 8 out of the ESV version. As you go on there, I want to catch you up on what's happening, what's going on in the scripture. Some of you may be familiar with the story of Joseph. Some of you may not. So I'm going to catch you up really quickly. It's a long story. But Joseph was a young man in his family, and he was a dreamer. He would get these dreams. They were actually prophetic dreams of what would happen in his life later on. But nobody really understood these dreams and what was going on. So as he would share them with his family, they would interpret them in different ways, right? So it seemed like that Joseph was trying to say, hey, I'm going to lord over my family. My family's going to bow down to me. I'm going to be the one that ascends from my family, and I'm going to be great. And so obviously as he's sharing these things, his father is showing favor to him. The other siblings, they get jealous. They're envious of him. They're envious of his treatment with the father. There's just a lot of things that are going on in their heart. They are sent with the sheep to go and tend to them. Joseph's father sends him to go check on the brothers. And as they see him from afar, they begin to plot in their hearts, let's kill him. Let's get him. This is a whole nother message about bitterness and how if you let it reside in your heart, it can lead you to try to kill somebody. It's for another day. They see him and they begin to contemplate taking his life. So as he gets there, they take him. They rough him up. One of the older brothers has enough sense. Something happens where it's like, we can't kill him. So they throw him in the pit, and these Midianite traders, they come along, they headed to Egypt, and they sell him into slavery. It's there, these Midianite traders, they take him to Egypt, and he ends up getting sold into the house of Potiphar, who is an Egyptian officer. Very quickly, Potiphar sees the grace and the gift upon Joseph's life. So much so that he puts Joseph over everything in his house. He allows Joseph to manage it. And it said that everything Joseph touched, it went well. But now there's somebody else that's watching Joseph too. It's Potiphar's wife. She also sees the grace upon his life. She sees the gifting. She sees all these things that are happening, and she makes her move. She makes her move to try to seduce Joseph. Joseph, in trying to honor his master, says, no ways. No ways. She falsely accuses him, and like any husband, Potiphar takes the word of his wife, and he puts Joseph in custody. Joseph is in jail. But even there, we see the gift and the grace upon his life. They see how he manages. They see how he stewards things well. So even in jail, he's put in a position where he is managing and looking over people. This is where we're going to pick up in verse 6. Y'all still with me? I got your attention. All right. Verse 6 reads, I'm reading out the ESV. It says, when Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw that they were troubled. So he asked Pharaoh's officers who were with him in custody. This is key. They were with him in custody in his master's house. Why are your faces downcast today? They said to him, we have had dreams, and there is no one to interpret them. And Joseph said to them, do not interpretations belong to God? Do not interpretations belong to God? Please tell them to me. And may God add his blessing to the reading of the word this morning. God, we thank you for your word. We thank you that it is alive and active, is sharp, is moving, is speaking out, even as we've read it out loud. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but your word will remain. God, we thank you that we can trust in your word. We thank you that we can find refuge, we can find provision, we can find safety in your word. May your word be a lamp unto our feet for the present and a light into our path as we head into the future. We trust you. We love you. We honor you. We ask all these things in your name. Amen. So, guys, we have been talking and chatting about over these last several weeks maturity and growth. Maturity and growth. We felt like this was a word that God gave us for our church for this year, for 2024. And I think oftentimes when we have a word at the beginning of the year, right, it's fresh, we've come off holiday, we anticipating some good things to happen, maybe our time and our mind is a little bit clear, we've been able to reflect a little bit, and then we get back into the busyness. And that word or whatever God is that he told us to focus on, it gets lost. So I wanted to bring the word back mid-year. Let's keep this word in front of us because we are in a process of maturity. And it's not an age thing. It doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. We are in a continual process of being matured. We can either embrace the process and partner with God in it, or we can stay in a cycle of immaturity. Y'all, I didn't get a head nod or anything on that one. In the scripture this morning, we see maturity and we see maturing happening at the same time in Joseph's life. There are some things that have happened to him that are outside of his control. And he has a choice. He has a choice in how he's going to engage with it. Just like we have a choice in how we engage with things in our life that we can't control that happen to us. This is a part of our maturing, believe it or not. How we choose to engage, how we choose to lead ourselves through moments of difficulty or moments through things that we can't control will either mature us or keep us in a perpetual cycle of immaturity. Joseph is in the same condition as the officers who have been put in custody. He's in the same place. He's in the same reality. Now, how they arrived at that place is very different. Joseph, his brothers were envy of him. He gets sold into slavery. He gets falsely accused. He ends up in custody. These two men, it doesn't say in detail what they did, but Pharaoh has put them in custody. So two different journeys, two different stories, same reality. Same condition, same state, same thing that they're dealing with. Their freedom has been stripped from them, from somebody, right, who was governing them or had power in their hands. They don't have any control anymore over what's happening, other than themselves and their attitude. So they're in the same place. But Joseph is doing something different. I always tell people, when people get put in a pressurized or challenging situation, then we see the real. Now we see what actually is going to come out of this person. Is this person a person of character? Because when you put under the pressure, when you put under the cooker, that's when we'll see what you actually are made of. Job's wife said, "Curse God and die." We see Joseph's character. We see maturity. We see maturity in Joseph's life. So much maturity that the people who are overseeing him in custody still see his gift. Y'all missing it. Guys, he's in jail. How many people would shut down? They see the grace upon Joseph's life so much that they said, no, we gotta let you lead something. We gotta put you over somebody. We see something in you that even though you in this place, we gotta give you some responsibility. Maturity and character are being lived out in Joseph's life. Maturity gives him eyes to see somebody that's in the same condition that he is in. He asked these men, why are you troubled? You look troubled. Of course they're troubled. They're in jail. What type of question is this? Yes, they would be troubled. But he sees something beyond the surface. God has given him eyes to see something different. They are mature eyes. They're in the same place. Guys, he doesn't know if he's going to be released. He doesn't ever know if he'll see freedom again. But he doesn't allow that to shut him down. He doesn't allow that to make him quit in life. He doesn't allow that to keep him from using his gift in the place that he's in. He continues to be a person of character. He continues to be a person of integrity. He continues to be a person of maturity. Several years ago, I was working as a graduate assistant coach, and you have 3 years and then you're done. Right? It doesn't matter what's going on, what's happening. You're 3 years and then it's up. Then you got to go look for a job. If you don't find a job, then you might have to look into going into another career. This is after hours and hours and time and sacrifice and giving up resources of working in this area. So me and my colleague, our time was up. There was a new boss that was coming in. He was bringing in his own guy. And fortunately enough, there was a convention that would happen every year. It was an annual convention. And before you go, this is where you had your interviews. You would line up stuff. You're getting on the phone. You're trying to find out what openings there are. This is where all the magic happens. Everything happens here. So we're doing all the things that we need to do. We are relationally connected. We're having people put out calls for us and seeing what's open. We get to the convention, and we are stressed. We are anxious. Because we know this is it. Everything that we've done has built up to this moment. It's now or nothing. Every single door slammed shut. Every lead, every relationship, everything. We can't find anything. We are in the same place, the same reality. It looks like that we're going to have to do something else with our lives. After all of this time, after all of this energy that we put into this profession, we're unable to find occupation. And I remember we were sharing a room together, and I woke up in the morning, and something began to happen inside of me. And I remember taking a look at him, and I saw him differently. I saw that he was really troubled. We were in the same place, the same state, but there was something that was going on in him that was a little bit deeper. There was something beyond the surface that was happening. In that moment, because of my relationship with God, He gave me eyes to see. Where I could have been like, I got to worry about myself. This dude's going to have to sort his own feelings and stuff out. Like, we're in the same place. No, God gave me eyes to see. Man, what's troubling you, man? I see something. There's something deeper beyond just the job. There's something else going on in your life. Joseph goes from seeing that they're troubled to asking. It's one thing to see. It's another thing to ask. Because when I open up my mouth and I ask a question, Now I'm getting into engagement with this person. Now there's a little bit of responsibility that happens. Oftentimes, we stay in the scene that somebody is troubled, and then we turn our heads. I can see you, but I can't see you. Please don't come talk to me and tell me about your stuff because I'm dealing with my own stuff. Right? And we literally walk around with a hand like this. People in our work, people in our family, I'm asking you how you doing, but I really don't want to know how you doing because I don't want to have to deal with your own problems because I got my own problems in my family. So I'm just having these surface conversations with you. But really beyond that, I don't really want to know how you're doing because I might get pulled into your issue. Joseph asked. I'm going to keep reminding you, he's in the same place. Do you know that somebody has been in the same place that you're in right now in life? I'm going to say it again. Do you know that somebody is in the same place that you're in right now in life? It's not new. Do you know they have also made it out on the other side of it? I love to hear parents that have a young baby, and I love to hear them talk about the lack of sleep. I oftentimes can become very desensitized, and I have to turn my head or like walk off. And I can laugh, and I can feel that way because I have two kids. It was one kid, we didn't sleep through the night for 2 years. No, I'm not exaggerating. 2 years, we didn't have straight sleep through the night. Now, before that, I would have said, there's no way I can live. There's no way I can function. There's no way I can get up in the morning and go to work and do anything. But it's not true. Was it hard? Was it difficult? Was it uncomfortable? Did I not like it? Check, 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 check. Did I make it through it? Yes. Have there been other people that have been through the same thing? Yes. The question is, will I shut down? This is where maturity comes in. I can't shut down because my kid is waking up in the middle of the night and shut everything else down in my life. Come on now. I'm talking about kids sleeping, but there's other stuff. I can't shut down. Joseph doesn't shut down. When I shut down, I cut off the lane, the switch for God to use me to continue to minister. But I'm a follower of Jesus. Am I only a follower of Jesus when the conditions are right? Am I only a follower of Jesus when things are comfortable for me? Am I only a follower of Jesus when all my finances look right? Am I only a follower of Jesus when everything in my family is going well? Am I only a follower of Jesus and I'm able to be used by him when there's perfect conditions? Mature. There will always be something that's happening in my life. There's something that's happening now. Always. If I'm waiting for perfect conditions, God will never be able to use me. Life will happen to everyone. Sickness will happen in family. Broken relationships will happen. Childhood drama will be there. Will you shut down? Joseph is dealing with a lot. Guys, his brothers have sold him to strangers, not knowing what would happen to his life. He doesn't quit. He keeps serving. He keeps being faithful to this relationship with God. So much that the people around him see the grace upon his life. These men who've been put in prison, they respond. It's not what we think. It's not because they're in custody that they are downcast. It's because these dreams are tormenting them. And they believe that these dreams are connected to what's going to happen in their life. How many of you have ever had a dream and it's just like, I keep having this thing over and over and over again, and I'm not sure what it is, but there's something inside of me feels like that it has to do with my next step, or something that's happened in my family or in my work, and I don't know how to discern what it means. And it's bothering me. I'm losing sleep over it. I'm anxious over it. I'm stressed over it. That's where these men are at. Joseph has been given mature eyes to see beyond not just their condition, but something internal that's going on in them. And they said, we can't interpret it. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going on. And so they find themselves in a really difficult space. Over the last several weeks, I have been working with my son, Caleb. They have been prepping for this Youth Day tournament that African Grassroots puts on. It's one of the biggest tournaments in Cape Town. So as they were prepping, it's basketball. As they were prepping, we would play these friendlies, right? And so in the friendlies, there's about 12 guys on their squad. Everybody would get to play in the friendlies, right? But now we get into the tournament, right? This is an under-19 tournament. It's highly competitive. We want to put the best guys out on the court so we can compete. So now as we get into the competition of the tournament, players' minutes are now changing in their time in the game. Y'all still with me? I haven't lost y'all with the sports analogy, have I? All right. So as this happens, players are getting disappointed because they're not getting the minutes that they expected that they were going to get or that they were getting previously. One guy on a team so much that he expressed it during the middle of the game. So I end up confronting the guy. We have a moment in the game where he expresses his disappointment with his playing time. You could see on his face he's downcast. Now, my son Caleb is also not getting the minutes that he wanted. Y'all still with me? So he's in the same place that this other guy's at. After the game, he goes up to the guy and he says, "Hey man, I see you still bothered. I see you still bothered by your lack of minutes. I am in the same place. But be encouraged. We're going to play more games. You're going to get more time." There was a maturity that he lived out in the moment, even though he found himself in the same place as this guy. But he was able to, because of his maturity, able to go minister to somebody that was in the same place that he was at. Joseph asked these guys, "Isn't God the giver of dreams?" What confidence Joseph has. How can you say something like that and you in jail? I'm serious. How can you say something like that and you don't even understand your own dreams? Y'all missed it. How can you ask somebody, isn't God the interpreter of dreams, and you don't even understand your own dreams, the fullness of them that God has given to you for your life? It's actually your dreams that have put you in the place that you're in. But you have the audacity to ask somebody who can't interpret their dreams, isn't my God the giver of your dreams? We don't have to have our life figured out to serve somebody else's life. Do you know as you are being used to interpret somebody else's dreams that God is fulfilling yours? Oh, y'all didn't, okay. Okay. Do you know I've given people prophetic words when I've needed a prophetic word for myself? Can we get real? Do you know I've encouraged people when I needed encouragement for myself? Do you know I prayed for people for healing when I was sick myself, or somebody was sick in my own family that needed healing? Maturity. This is why Joseph is able, in the condition and the state that he's in, and he doesn't even understand his own dreams, can also say, but my God is the interpreter of the dreams. Share them with me. Now, I'm going to take you full circle. One of the men gets hung, the other one gets free. Do you know if Joseph decided to shut down in jail, he would still be in there? It's because he decided to be a person of character. It's because of his relationship with God. He interprets this man's dreams, and the man remembers later on when Pharaoh was having a dream. And he said, you know what? There was a man that I met in jail, and he interpreted one of my dreams. This is what gets him out of custody. This is what gets him into his dreams, was interpreting somebody else's dream. This is why you can't shut down when something is happening in your life. This is why you can't quit when you're going through a trial. This is why you can't stop when you have a challenge. As soon as something happens, personally, right, we shut down everything else. Can I go there? Are y'all sure? This is simple stuff. I've been facilitating a spiritual life session. Something happens at work. I call in and say we're not going to meet tonight. Y'all got silent. Sometimes the very thing that you have your hands in, that you're serving God in, is what he will use. But you shut it off. You shut down. We shut down. Come on, I can keep going. Let's mature. Things will not be perfect in your life. Don't shut off the things that you're doing for God. We have, and it's been needed, right, gotten language for our own personal health and self-care. My parents did not have the language for it. They couldn't talk about that type of stuff. They needed to because they're unhealthy. So praise God that there's been stuff that has happened. I have been able to talk about my own health, right? And it's not seen as I'm weak because I do that. We've needed that. But now what has happened, you hear this word a lot. I don't have the capacity. Can I go there again? I don't have capacity. What does that mean exactly? What does that mean? It's just a question. Paul is begging God, take this thorn from my flesh. It's unhealthy. It's killing me. The Lord responds, my grace is sufficient. It's things that we created these health boundaries in our life, and it's uncomfortable. So when it's uncomfortable, we start talking about capacity. When it brings discomfort to me, I start talking about my personal capacity. When it stretches me, I start talking about capacity. So what we end up doing is we end up eliminating the thing that God is trying to use to mature us. Do you know to mature you need stretched? Do you know when you mature it's uncomfortable? There's no area in my life that I've matured in and it's been easy. No area. We can't shut down. We can't shut down. I'm debating on whether to share this or not. I'm going to share it. A couple of Sundays ago, I was in the bed for 4 days. 5, says Kimberly. Couldn't shake a temperature. Had shakes in the bed. Couldn't eat. Daughter was sick as well. Like, out. When I'm out, I'm not out a lot. But when I'm out, I'm out. We had planned to recognize Trudy and Harald as elders the Sunday that I was still sick. Y'all still with me? Everything would have said, no, move it to a different Sunday. Don't do it. Relocate it somewhere else. No, it was the day and it was the time to do it. But it was uncomfortable for me. I literally got straight up out of bed, showered, put my clothes on, came here during worship, lifted my hands to God, wept and praised Him for my life and for my healing that was coming and that was here, got up and preached the message, and then laid hands on these people who've been faithful in our community. Announcements happened. I walked straight out those doors, down, got in the car, drove down to the house, took my clothes off, and got straight back in the bed and slept for the rest of the day. Everything won't always feel comfortable. Everything won't always feel good. Don't shut down. God moved that day. Something happened. Healing took place in the room. People were ministered to. Stop shutting down when it gets when it gets uncomfortable. Stop shutting down because of the reality that you're in or that you're facing. God still wants to move. He still wants to minister. It's when I'm weak that He is strong. That's when the supernatural happens. When I'm not dependent on my own strength. Mature. Mature. God, my life is yours. Mature me. Every area of my life. God, show me the things in my life that I've been trying to remove that you put there to mature me. Help me to stop making excuses in areas that you're trying to strengthen me in. Increase my capacity. Let us be like Joseph, sold into slavery. Life looks hopeless. You'll never see daylight again. You'll always be a slave. Because he didn't quit. Because he continued to be faithful. Because he allowed the process of matured him. His dreams came to pass. And then he walked in the fullness of his dream. The dream was never about him. It was about a family. It was about a nation. It was about a community that God wanted to preserve. Not only his family, but many other nations and multitudes and languages around them. Through the wisdom and the interpretation of dreams through Joseph, there was life. What does God want to do through your maturing? I want to ask that again. What does God want to do through your maturing? I believe there's life that he wants to preserve through your maturing. Let's grow. Let's grow. Let's not shut down when things get hard. God, we thank you this morning. We thank you that you're here. We thank you that you love us. God, your word, not our word, your word says that you would not put more on us than we could bear. It didn't say that you wouldn't put stuff on us. It says you wouldn't put more on us than we could bear. God, you are with us to do the heavy lifting. You said my yoke and my burden is easy and it's light. It is still a yoke. It is still a burden, but you've done the hard part. God, give us eyes of maturity. Help us to see, even when we're in a reality that doesn't feel nice, give us mature eyes to see people around us. God, help us to open up our mouth to ask the question. I see you troubled. I see this is happening in this community. I see this is happening in this workplace. Why are you downcast? Why is your head down? God, and may we be reminded in the moment that you are the solution. We're not the solution, you are the solution. It's in relationship with you, God, that we can speak with confidence. It's in relationship with you that regardless of what we're going through, that we know that there's hope, there's light at the end of the tunnel. If we just keep walking, if we just keep moving, if we just don't shut down, God, we'll see the goodness of God. We'll see the faithfulness of God. We'll see God's salvation in our communities, in our city. We'll see the ancient ruins that have been broken down. We'll see them be built again. God, let us be partners with you, mature partners walking with you. Mature partners walking with you. As individuals and as a community. We love you, Lord. You're the reason why we're here. Thank you for the word that's a mirror into our lives. May you bring healing. May you bring restoration. May you bring correction. God, help us. Help us. Help us. Help us to continue to be shaped into the image and the likeness of you. We love you. We honor you. We ask these things in your name. Amen.